could be to make the most money you can. Well, yeah, we gotta make money, but you still gotta have ground to farm, your kids to farm it. So you gotta have the right purpose. You can see if you get past the first row, the corn gets taller and darker green. This plant did come from the second row in. This is a pretty typical plant from there. One thing that's very impressive here is the stalk diameter, and there's a very high correlation between the average stalk diameter and the size of the ear. You know, to put a big ear on, this plant has to develop a pretty good factory here to make that happen. Has to be able to accumulate enough energy from collecting photosynthesis. You know, it certainly has to have fertility in the soil. The amount of available potassium correlates pretty well to stalk diameter. You know, if you have very low soil test readings of potassium or it's not available to the plant, you're not going to get a large caliber stalk diameter. It's going to be kind of on the thin side. You notice too, the leaves are pretty green all the way down. There's, you know, just a little bit of nitrogen deficiency on some of the lower leaves, probably after a heavy rainfall event where the soil went anaerobic for a short period of time. Then the plant might have been lacking enough nitrogen for a certain stage. Right now there's just a little bit of nitrate bleeding out from some of these nodes. It looks like someone spilled milk on it. That's actually some nitrate leaching out of the node, so that's a good sign. That would indicate that the plant's probably has adequate nitrogen today. Take a look at the ear here. The way you can tell if it's pollinated, you more careful than I did, but peel back the husk and shake it, and if the silks fall off, that means it's pollinated. And you can see these kernels, most of them are already in the blister stage, so it's pretty well pollinated. That's a 16 around and pretty good length there. So, you know, a lot of potential here if we can fill this out. You know, there's no reason to think that these won't show up as being pollinated. You know, the question will be, does it have enough energy to hang on the kernels of the tip? You know, can we keep the plant healthy enough, long enough, with enough energy to keep those kernels filling clear to maturity? You know, what's the density of that grain? So part of it is, you know, having a good factory here. We've got good leaf color, again indicating good nitrogen. Pretty wide leaf, so we do have a good factory. This particular plant doesn't have much for disease lesions. There is some northern corn leaf blight. In fact, it's fairly prevalent in some of the fields in this area. That could be a factor that would cause the plant to shut down prematurely as it, you know, loses plant health and vigor. One thing that we look at on corn plants, you're always going to see some browning down here. Each root node has a filter in it, and as that filter gets plugged enough from filtering things out, it plugs here, and that root no longer has the ability to function, so the corn plant will send out another set of root nodes above it. So we like to see signs that those early roots didn't plug up early.
In the world of pathogens and insects, first of all, in planting corn, for example, I think it's something about 10,000 acres of beans, dried edible beans and soybeans, where the growers went ahead, they used the Ecotech as a repellent. They used the BioRepel as a repellent in the soil, on the seed. Then going ahead and adding the SP1 on the seed. In the world of the beans, we also had a bean seed treatment, microseed treatment, and Humega, a liquid seed treatment. Pretty much encapsulating or all-inclusive to repel the insects and suppress the diseases, organic. All basically herbal treatments, every one of them. Garlic, rosemary, peppermint, clove oil. Yesterday somebody called an organic grower growing Blue River hybrids, about 500 acres. I had sent a notice out that the northern leaf blight was coming along in Illinois and this part of the country. And eventually, they called me and they says, we got some northern leaf blight. Well, eventually it was going to go into central Wisconsin. And does it work? I says, I don't know. The neighbor is using it for lake blight in his potatoes, and he's the only farmer in about 10 miles that doesn't have lake blight in his potatoes, literally. It was just lethal in Wisconsin. But he says, I don't know why it works, because it's herbal treatments. But for whatever reason. So the point is yes, it's effective for us. And so just make sure that you're aware of everything that is in the organic world for applications. Proactive is really, really, really important.
Doing a really good job on this. So what we always do is go ahead and cut some roots, and you'll notice that there's some damage in these particular roots here. Even though it looked really good, chances are that is some fusarium from the time that they were waterlogged. In this particular case, this is extremely good, and the reason why I say it's good is that it is not hollow. If it's hollow, that means that basically deficiency of boron. So you want to make sure that you've got to go with it. In that particular case, I think Aaron's got at least 2 gallons of AgroEnergy's boron on here, which is equivalent to 4 pounds of Solibor. And this one here, I think it's about 3.5. Boron makes them grow. If you don't know me, you're going to find that there's 2 nutrients that I'm obsessed with. It's potassium and boron.
Hey Aaron, could you tell us what we're looking at here with this machine?
It's an integer cultivator with a Gandy orbit system for applying fertilizer or cover crop or both.
Okay, how does it work?
Well, it's my last pass through, and usually after I take a pedio test, I'm short nitrogen or potash, and I fix that up and I add my cover crop to it, and just for canopy, put that on. And then once it canopies, everything germinates, but yet it doesn't get ahead of the crop.
Do you do this in corn only or corn and beans?
So far it's just corn.
Okay. So what timing? Just before canopy?
Just before pre-canopy there. It's not really for killing weeds, but there might be a few out there we get with it. But by that time, whatever's there for weeds is probably going to stay there. I just put the cover crop on, maybe to choke out some that might come out later.
What kind of cover crops are you working with when you make this application?
So far, I've only worked with purple top turnip, rapeseed, and now this year I tried hairy vetch.
All together.
And then I did add some in a test plot. I got winter rye and clover too.
Okay, so the seed's coming down the tube here. How do we get distribution then into the soil?
Basically, I just got it tie it on wherever it'll fit, and then I just either shoot it straight ahead like that one, because when I fold it up, it would kink the hose. So everyone's kind of different, but it just bounces and flies all over. And then the shoe kind of covers some of it up, some of it's in the roll, some of it's not covered. Kind of comes different times.
So you end up with pretty good distribution.
Yeah, it works pretty good. I like it. I had the idea. John Koshmeter had the Orbit machine, so I bought that from him, and then I took it down to my favorite steel shop, and they figured out how to mount it. So,
well, it's pretty neat that you can seed cover crops while you're making a pass that you would do anyway, so it's not even an extra trip.
not really. And then usually I got it on, well, that tractor over there, I have it on that one, but it's got the Buffalo Till guidance system, so that kind of helps too.